and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel Philosmos, where everything philosophical is discussed. Now, this is a continuation of the first video I did, which was titled The Differences Between Religion and Spirituality. So this is part 2. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. If you like the video, of course, please share it, comment down below what your thoughts are, and like the video as well, and subscribe to the channel. Of course, let's get it. So, the first reason for today that I'd like to detail, in which is quite a noticeable trait of religion, is the fact that religion has the belief that there are external forces that are enemies. There are countless times in certain religious books, not all, certain, in which their God permits them to wage war on their enemies, and not just human enemies, spirit enemies as well. There are many religions that detail their existence of like Satan, the devil, or some kind of external force that is purely evil. We have demons, we have jinns, we have all kinds of different manifestations of potential enemies, right? And the most commonly held belief of the enemy is Satan, right? Lucifer, the devil. Okay, some people make the debate that Lucifer and Satan are not the same entity, but I don't want to get into that. I just want to get into the fact that, religion understands that, believes and perceives the fact that there's some kind of external force, that's coming to get you, that is doing every single thing that it can to make sure that it destroys you, that to make sure that it harms you, and to make sure that it creates destruction at the core of human values. So that is the main belief of most religions. Now, when we look at spirituality, right? Now, of course, you do have some spiritual traditions that do believe in negative entities, entities that exist in different dimensions that could affect us in this dimension. But ultimately, right, if you're looking at pure spirituality, then you realize spirituality removes the focus of external enemies and realizes a fundamental truth, that the real enemy is actually within. It was an African proverb that said, if there's no enemy within, then the enemy outside can do us no harm. And that is a basic understanding and basic premise of spirituality, that if you take care of yourself internally, if you trust yourself internally, if you know yourself internally, then the enemies outside you cannot harm you. And most people will say, oh, okay, they can still harm you, they can cause physical harm on you. But we're more than just the flesh, right? Our essential nature is more than just the flesh, right? So when they say it cannot harm you, it means they cannot harm the real you. The flesh is just the vehicle, the vessel in which your true self is utilizing in order to communicate and have a physical experience. So spirituality, pure spirituality, because there are different sets of spirituality that could breed off that same fear that religion created, right? That there's some kind of external enemy coming out to get us. But we, in essence, are our own worst enemies. We are literally our own worst enemies. If we look at the contents of our mind, if we listen to our inner speech, we realize just how much we belittle ourselves, just how much we cause immense amounts of judgment on our character and our achievements and what we're supposed to be doing. There are many times in which we second guess our potential. There are many times where we spoil good relationships because of our egos. So we are actually getting in our own way. We are actually our own enemies. And if we have that basic understanding, then we realize that the external enemies are nothing but projections of your own inner enemy that you have not yet placed awareness on. So that is one difference between religion and spirituality. Sorry about that. Okay, all right, getting excited. Number 2, religion believes God to be localized. Religion has the belief that God exists in some other realm, right? Where God can watch and observe what is going on the planet, or what's going on in the universe, or whatever the case may be. But religion has objectified God. Although certain religions like Islam, they do not have like a visual image of God, but it's still a basic understanding that that force exists somewhere, you know. And this also is realized in many other religions like Christianity, right? That God is in some other realm, Jesus is in some other realm, watching and observing this realm. So within spirituality, the idea of God is non-localized. So what that means is God is not existing in just some specific place, watching and observing. That God is actually present in all experiences. God is present in every single corner of the universe, because all of this is an expression of God. Meaning God is not localized. God is not something that you find. God is something that you experience here and now. So religion will teach you to seek God, because God is something that you need to find. But in spirituality, you don't seek God, because the very seeking moves God away. The very seeking places God in disguise, because it's the very seeker that is this God self. So that's that second point. Okay, so the third point and the last point. Let's just double check here. Yes. So the idea of eternity. So most religions promise the eternal life when we die, in the afterlife. That in this world we are forced with the realities of birth and death. But in the afterlife we're promised eternity, you know. Now eternity means different things in different religions, of course, but it's still that centralized idea that eternity is not something we know right now. We are living in time, and eternity is something we'll experience in the afterlife. So when it comes to spirituality, it's a bit different. In spirituality, in true spirituality, because there are different sects of spirituality, as I said before, that, you know, still have residues of religious beliefs in terms of the idea of birth and death. These are realities on the surface, but upon deeper investigation, there is no birth, there is no death. That right here, right now, we are smack in the middle of eternity. Why? Because if we understood time, like Ludwig Wittgenstein said, you know, if we understood time not as an infinite temporal duration, you know, like something that goes on and on forever, but as timelessness, then eternity belongs to those who live in the present. So I'm paraphrasing what you're saying, but it's an idea that I want you to observe. That if this moment right here, right now, is absent of the past and absent of the future, it's smack in the middle of the here and now. That means there is no time. And if there is no time, then we're in a state of timelessness. And in timelessness, that is equivalent to eternity. Because eternal means something that is forever, you know. It's not something that ends. But if we understand something that didn't even begin, then we can incorporate this idea that this moment right now is actually eternity. We're eternal beings, meaning we're beings that are not subject to time. even though our bodies demonstrate growth and death in the near future or distant future, doesn't matter when it is, but nonetheless, the essence remains, and that essence is eternal. And it's not something that is experienced in the afterlife. Eternity is not something that you're going to experience in the afterlife. Eternity is available right here, right now, because this moment as we speak is timeless. And because it is timeless, that means it has no beginning and it has no end. So if it has no beginning and it has no end, then how can you reserve it for the next moment when it's right here available to you? So yeah, this is part 2. All right, I think I'm gonna end it off there. Don't want to jot down too much knowledge. But anyway, part 3 will come out, and as I said before, if you like the video, like, share, subscribe, and to end it off, as I always end it off, for those who seek no more. Why? Because in the present we find it all. Thank you very much, guys.